I'm Dr. Veronica Shah, consultant pediatrician to Palna, Delhi Council of Child Welfare. Palna is a home for abandoned children, which has been there for the last 30 to 40 years. Initially started as a very small home where children were left and were only looked after by one or two members, voluntary members. And then this family grew slowly until later, they have grown to a number of more than 150. Have been associated with Palna since 1988, when Palna's approximately 25 to 30 children had their medical care being extended largely from St. Stephen's Hospital, which was at the Sazari, about 3 to 4 kilometers away from Palna. These children were brought in on a daily basis with different kind of illnesses, either OPD or for admission. In 1992, I joined as a consultant pediatrician to Palna. The challenges that were faced by us at that time was limited space. There were 3 rooms in which 30 to 40 children had to be looked after. These children were brought in mainly by the police or came in through the cradle. The cradle is the one that you see often at the gate of Palna, which has an alarm system underneath it, and the alarm goes off and the people from inside would go and bring the child in to Palna. Some of the children who came to us were abandoned in different areas of Delhi and were brought in by people. Some were relinquished by the parents and some were referred from hospital. We had an unknown medical history in all these cases, which was a difficult position to deal with. This led to high levels of morbidity and mortality at that point of time. There were staff but with inadequate skill set and underqualified. No facility to tackle emergencies at that time. And this family was slowly growing to be 100. And a dire need for space was there at this point of time. In 1995, we were blessed with a new building which has much larger space. This building is the present Palna you see, and it has a large area where the nursery is there for 35 to 40 children. There's a nursing station adjacent to it where the nurses are present all the time to take care of the baby. There is a milk room where the formulas of the different age groups are prepared, and a treatment room where any sick child could be treated. We installed an emergency pharmacy where we could keep emergency drugs for the children whenever they were needed, even at odd hours of the night. We had needed an isolation room where infectious diseases like chickenpox had to be isolated, even measles. Skilled staff were employed, which created a very healthy atmosphere in Palna, and including very qualified nurses. 1997, I call it the landmark year, because we suddenly woke up to the need of having to have our own immunization schedule to supplement to the government immunization schedule, because the government immunization schedule used to be done every 2 months, and 2 months whatever babies arrived were unimmunized. At this point of time we had an outbreak of chickenpox, and the chickenpox was fulminant, and it nearly brought down about half of Palna with the disease. We had to isolate all these children, we had to provide them with separate care, we had to give them their medicine separately, just to keep away the spread from the nursery and the toddlers who, if infected, would be very adversely affected. During this time, we also had the arrival of a diphtheria case who was terminally ill, but no one could recognize that this was a diphtheria case. So the child was kept in Palna overnight until in the morning he was checked out, found to be diphtheritic. And the other children may have at this point of time been infected by this one child. So the introduction of chickenpox vaccine was done with a benevolent donor whom we immunized all the children with chickenpox. And after that we have kept immunizing the children, and we have had no case of chickenpox since 1997. A very highlight of this year was the establishment of a crisis unit for intensive care, because children who are sick needed to be cared for more closely, watched more closely. So there were children who were coming in with very high serum bilirubin and they needed phototherapy. So we had a radiant warmer, we had pulse oximeters put in. And once we had this equipment and a sick room for serious children, we felt the need for resident doctors. And the first resident doctor came in this year and he was working almost 12 hours and he would look after the babies very closely, and this brought down the mortality very significantly. Induction of physiotherapists, special educator, a speech therapist, a visiting psychologist and ophthalmologist were done to give the children a holistic approach to the care of the babies. Facility for emergency medical investigations was started, because once you are caring for sick children, then investigations may have to be done round the clock. We set up a network for referring to super specialty hospitals for special care. In 2000, we could care for 162 children. That was the largest number of children Palna has had since a long time. And these children, we were stretched to capacity, but we could give them good care. We didn't feel the burden because the staff had a well structured medical setup to care for all these children. The present facilities in Palna include crisis unit, continuous positive pressure airway monitor, 4 resident doctors, medical support staff, 13 skilled nurses, well qualified, 70 caregivers, a very comprehensive vaccination program, a supervised nutrition and dietary management. The diet menu is planned meticulously. They have a good variety of all kinds of nutritional supplements given to them. And we're very happy to say that today Palna has a very low mortality, nearly nil mortality. Minimal referrals, mainly for surgical cases and critical cases on need basis. We are still endeavoring to do better and continuously evolving. Now I'd like to bring to you some of the children who've been with us, have been got better, been adopted, and others who are still with us. The first case being Divya, who arrived in 2001. She was just 6.3 kgs. She was anemic. She was malnourished. She had a hemoglobin of 5.7 with a left eye which was outside her socket. It was protruding with a corneal opacity. We diagnosed this case to be a congenital buphthalamus, and it is a congenital glaucoma. It is an abnormality with which she was born. The eye specialist consulted, advised that this eye need to be removed. So we had a left eye enucleation at Lady Hardinge Medical College, and a prosthetic eye was advised. The child has been doing very well after that, did very well, and was successfully placed in adoption. And these are the pictures, lovely pictures we received after the baby went in adoption. One picture is of 2004 and the other of 2006. And as you can see, you can hardly notice the difference in the two eyes. Jeevani. Jeevani was one of the smallest babies we've had in Palna. Only 900 grams. Came to us in 2002 as a newborn, only 5 to 6 days old. Was a preterm, 34-35 weeks. Had intrauterine growth retardation. She wasn't growing too well in utero. And after that, 2.5 months she was with us with persistent pneumonia and fast breathing. On a high degree of suspicion, we started her on antitubercular treatment. And she improved very well. She gained weight. And at 9 months, here's Jeevani with a weight of 6 kg, developing absolutely fine, 6 to 7 months developmentally. And she was later placed successfully in adoption. And these were the photographs we received of her. That's Jeevani at about 1.25 years. And that's Jeevani at about 2 years in 2003. We have Hari Om now, who was a very malnourished child on arrival. He came in 2011, brought to us from a hospital. Weight was 2.12 kg, brought to us by the police. 2.5 months old, malnourished. He had bilateral brachial plexus injury with failure to thrive and delayed milestones. His both, if you notice, his upper limbs are stretched and immobile. His legs were also not very responsive. He had a very dull and lethargic look. He needed to be fed through his nasogastric tube. And we put him on physiotherapy, which worked miracles for this little fellow, and gave him a good nutrition with which he has improved. And this is Hari Om at present, a bright spark with lovely eyes, able to stand on his 2 feet, and he can even move his upper limbs enough to support himself. He's doing well, his growth and development is normal, is fair. Namrita arrived in 2008, birth weight of 2 kg. She was a low birth weight baby. She was a normal term baby. He came in the cradle to us. She was left in the cradle. Her treatment was instituted after she was 1.5 years. You can see she has no lower limbs. Both lower limbs are small, and her female genital organs were normal, but she had a retardation of growth of the lower limbs and the sacral region. We call this the congenital sacrocaudal dysplasia syndrome. It's a condition which occurs to babies of severely diabetic mothers who have not received treatment. The senior orthopedic surgeon consulted at St. Stephen's Hospital advised prosthesis, artificial limb for her, because she was moving around in Palna very fast. She could, with her 2 arms, move herself across Palna, and we felt with limbs she would be much better facilitated to move. So she got her artificial limbs from the Artificial Limb Center of Wim Hands. And she's 4 years, 7 months now, doing very well. A cheerful child who is quite the boss of Palna. Pappu. Pappu came to us when he was 4 years old. He was malnourished, of course, and he was centrally cyanosed, meaning he was blue. And he suffered from a condition called congenital heart disease with a ventricular septal defect. He had a dilated left heart and was in congestive cardiac failure. He had a pneumonia, which we treated immediately and referred him to Max Hospital, Saket, where they put a Dacron patch. He was operated within 6 weeks of arriving in Palna, and he has done very well after that. He was in regular follow-up initially on medication, but now all medications have been stopped and he's doing very well. He also had bilateral mastoidectomy, which is correction of ear discharge from both ears, and at 6 years, 9 months, he's 16 kg and is a smart little boy. Next, we come to Simran, who came to us in 2009. She was 1.54 kgs and she was brought by the police. It's a female preterm baby with osteogenesis imperfecta. Osteogenesis imperfecta is a very rare disease which these children get congenitally, and they have multiple fractures. So Simran had multiple fractures and the white of the eye was blue, and which is a very big point in recognizing this condition. We earlier, about 4 to 5 years ago, have treated a case of osteogenesis imperfecta who has been successfully placed in adoption and is doing very well. So we were encouraged to refer her to the endocrinologist and at St. Stephen's Hospital, where she's on regular treatment with injection pamidronate, which she gets 3 monthly. Today, Simran is about 2 years old. She's walking around. She has no fractures. She's 10 kgs. Her growth and development are good. This is a bird's eye view that I'm presenting to you of the work that is going on in Palna. There are many more interesting and very challenging cases that are going on in Palna. Many more children who have found homes and are happy having left Palna. Now I would like to place on record my sincere thanks to the children of Palna for giving us an opportunity to serve them, the administration for their continuous support and struggle to keep Palna going, the resident doctors for their dedication, all the caring staff of Palna, and last but not the least, the benevolent donors, the well-wishers of Palna, and all those who have been instrumental in helping Palna in any which way they could. I would request all of you to visit our website, which is on the slides, to get more information about Palna.